Hello, everyone. It's so good to see you back here at Silver Tears Tarot. And of course, as always, a warm welcome to anyone who is new here. So here we are already in February. Happy February. It's time to take a look at how February is going to unfold, but from that soulmates perspective. So yesterday we did the general perspective. Today we do the soulmates perspective. We've seen big changes for your person. Starting last year, not only, with households and lives changing, but so is your person's perception of those things. So in some cases, the big shift has been more mental. They don't feel the same way about their surroundings as they thought they did. Big reevaluation in what makes your person happy, big reassessment of their actual base values. This has not been a simple process for many of your people. So let's see if we can get a look into February to see what's happening for you here. I assume we're going to reassess at the mid-month point, but let's go ahead and get that first look. So as always, it's a general reading. It's for all signs. And even though it's a pick a pile, these readings won't resonate with everybody. If you have one that really does resonate for you, please hit like. Please subscribe because there's been a pattern here. These readings have all been connected. So if this is your story, welcome in. Um, let's go ahead and pick those piles. So we have pile one with the Amazonite. We've got pile two with a red agate, and then pile three with the Labradorite. So as I always say, don't overthink it. Just breathe. Let yourself move toward one of the piles. Be attracted toward one of the piles, and it can be more than one. So if you are choosing pile one, then stay tuned. It'll be right up. For pile two and pile three, I've got linked timestamps down below. So pick your pile and let's get started. Okay, so here we go. Starting out with pile one. This is the Amazonite. This is a neat one. Some of it tends toward almost a blue or a turquoise kind of color. This one's a little bit paler in the background, but it has a lot of other complexities in it. So this is the black tarot that I'm going to read for you from, and then I'm going to clarify with the uncommon tarot. So turns out to be a really neat combination. We're going to start out with how your person is feeling as we head into the month of February. So this is how they're feeling about you, how they're feeling about the situation just in general, but how they're feeling about things with regard to this soulmate union as you are moving into the month of February. Okay, what was that? Let's see. We have the Ace of Cups. Wow, almost couldn't ask for anything better than that. So the Ace of Cups is the new flow of emotion. It's new flow of emotion, but it's also like it has this feeling like and we got this in a previous reading, so this doesn't necessarily surprise me, but it's like the limitations have been removed from this Ace of Cups. This is not necessarily emotion that you haven't, with a person that you haven't experienced. In fact, we know that this is a reading with you and your soulmate, so it's that energy that's flowing between the two of you. But the way they're feeling about it is just very loving and almost like in a loving and giving sort of way. It's got that feeling to it. Let's see what the energy is that is most prevalent as you go across the month. So this is going to be kind of like your energetic backdrop. It's the energy between the two of you. And so we know that they are feeling very loving, okay? But that may be communicative, it may not be, it may be in a backdrop where things are very challenging, or maybe things are more going their way. So I guess we want to understand that backdrop energy, that what is going to be prevalent energy between you. All right, so we've got the Three of Swords. This is a card that we've seen come out here in the past a little bit as well. So the Three of Swords is all about pain, heartbreak, suffering. And so when we see it in the reverse like this, it's coming out of that. It's feeling a little bit better about things. So that's actually a very positive card to see in the reverse. It is not necessarily the act of healing, but it is what happens when the healing starts to take place. It can also precede it. So it's kind of it's part of that overall process, but it's definitely pain falling away. So let's see what's coming for you in this energy of February as the two of you move through it. We've got love that they're feeling your direction. We've got a sense of some of the pain between the two of you, or not necessarily pain that was caused by this relationship. Some of it may have been, but it's the pain that this relationship triggered to arise in both of you. That's what starts to fall away. So let's see what's coming during the month of February, because it seems like if you watched the general reading yesterday, there was a lot of very positive energy coming. But it could take so many forms. And that was, again, a general reading. So it wasn't specific to the soulmate cycle, but we definitely see those similarities. Even some of the same cards come up that we've been seeing. So we've got the Page of Wands here, and this is the energy that you're moving toward. This is a subdued sort of energy. So in the upright, the Page of Wands is ready for whatever. This is someone who's ready to jump into something. They're ready to party. They're willing. They're very curious, very passionate, very willing to try new things. Here in the reverse, though, we find that to be less likely. It's more of an introverted sort of feeling, not necessarily that, that they don't want to be around people or that you don't want to be around people, just that it's more you get your energy from that time alone or you need some time alone. It may more be that, depending on how it plays out for you, but it's still that subdued sort of energy. Um, we'll look here to see what a critical energy is that is impacting you in and your soulmate as you go into February of 2023. So this could be something that you guys feel is good. It could be something that's bad, but whatever it is, it's going to impact you. A lot of times it's coming from outside of you, but not always. It could be a emotion or a set of emotions. And we have the Queen of Swords, but in the reverse. So in the upright, the Queen of Swords is all about cutting things out of your life that doesn't make sense for them to be in there anymore. She is very logical, very protective, and we're done. Not a super heavy on the emotion sort of feeling. Here in the reverse, though, what I'm feeling is a little bit more vulnerability is not the word that I'm looking for, but what I would say is there's more nuance. There's more of a willingness to look at the situation before just, unceremoniously removing it or cutting it out. So there is a little bit more of kind of a considerate nature almost to this card. It'll be interesting to see what comes out to clarify that. Let's take a look into the hidden energy. So here again, it's what you can't see from where you're standing, but it's still information that would be good for you to know. Hidden energy, that things that you can't really see from where you're standing. Okay, so we've got the 10 of Cups in reverse. All right, so this is about discerning your situation, discerning your surroundings, but it's also about a light that is so bright that you kind of have to allow your eyes to adjust to it. We talk sometimes about something being too good to be true, or at least appearing like it is, and then you have to get in there and determine whether it's actually too good to be true and then how you want to handle it, because that's really what happens. It's not necessarily that you get in there, determine something's too good to be true, and you bolt. It's okay, this isn't what I thought it was. I have a decision to make. Do I bolt, or do I that's that feeling that I'm going to actually sit and be discerning about these decisions rather than making snap judgments. Do I bolt, or do I just take a different approach, and so that's really kind of the question there with this 10 of Cups. But it's so these cards are working very much together. So when you're presented with something that you're not quite sure what you're looking at, you do give yourself an opportunity to adjust, or that's something that you learned and you're being better at. but so is your person. This is actually a shared energy, and it doesn't feel like it's necessarily heavier for one of you rather than the other. So you guys have both been presented with something that seemed like it was a little too good to be true, and you had to get in there and do some assessment of that and determine what was really going on. Maybe you did adjust your approach. Maybe your person bolted. There's a lot of things that kind of have to be reassessed there, but that's what we've been seeing in some of the previous readings. Having this energy of love that's coming up and this feeling of pain falling away, though, for the month of February is incredibly promising, I would say. So let's take a look at how you can best prepare for the energy that's coming your direction. You've got this energy of pain falling away, but how do you get yourself lined up for that, particularly as it results or relates to this soulmate situation? What can you be doing right now is kind of what this question is, and it's to align you with a best result. Seven of Wands. Okay, so there is, if you watched yesterday's reading, or I'm trying to decide if it was yesterday's or the one that came before. There was a reading recently where there was a sense of feeling like there was imposter syndrome that had to be overcome. And it's kind of neat because there was this realization somewhere in the reading that you were actually going to do better than you might have anticipated because you've grown more than you might realize. So here it's really just honoring that, honoring the fact that maybe you've grown a little bit more than you had. You're farther along. You're not going to handle things the same way that you've always handled them in the past. So let's jump in here to clarify. We've got the Uncommon Tarot that we're going to use as our clarifying deck here on the Black Tarot. We're going to start with the Ace of Cups. So the Ace of Cups was how your person is feeling about you. We came right out of the gate with that question. How is your person feeling about you, about things? And it looks like a very loving and kind of a gentle energy. That's more than one card. Um, yeah, if it's just one card, I'll take it. Usually. All right, so we have the Page of Wands in reverse. So that's that feeling of that subdued feeling again. And it's this time it's coming out in terms of how your person is feeling about you. So if you're not having communication from them, it's because they are still feeling a little subdued in their own ability to communicate and get their thoughts out there. This is not just you. This is happening in more areas than with just you. This is something that your person is encountering. But what's different about you is that you've helped them get through some super questionable things. So there is this devil energy is the energy of something that controls you. And in this case, it's something that has controlled them. And it almost feels like it goes with this Three of Swords in reverse because it's that same feeling of where this is pain and difficulty falling away. This is that initial thing that enables the pain and causes you to hold on to the pain that has been falling away for your person. And so what it leaves is a greater capacity for love. But with your person feeling so subdued about things, I think they're not quite ready to do too much in this energy as far as fast action, forward movement. It feels like things are a little bit in a kind of a holding pattern, but there is a lot of love there. You may be able to feel that. It's very positive, very I have to dip into the energy in order to read it for you. And what I feel is it's just very calming and very all inclusive. This is unconditional love. This is a really fantastic sort of experience. So taking a look at this Three of Swords now, let's take a look here. We've got the King of Cups that has come out, but it's come out in the reverse. So this is about, there's been an attempt to keep, and we've seen this in previous readings, but here's where it kind of turns itself over. We've had the King of Cups actually in the upright come out a lot, and the King of Cups in the upright is this feeling of, yes, I will love you, however it's got limitations. I need to keep my wits about me, need to understand which way is up. I'm not going to lose control here. So when it's in the reverse here, definitely a loss of control. Now, whether your person continues to veer away from it in this tendency they have currently to stay out of struggles, stay out of trouble. This is like a 5 of Wands in reverse almost kind of feeling here. Whether that's true or not, there's definitely a sense that they know that they are emotionally out of control, or they have been emotionally out of control. They may be a little bit concerned that it showed up to others. And in some cases, it definitely showed up to others. If they've got people within their space and within their realm that they talk to, family members, people that they're close with are going to have noticed this dynamic. Let's take another look at the Three of Swords. So, remember, this is the energy that you're headed toward during the course of the month. So it's pain falling away, but it's not necessarily a simple and easy process. It doesn't happen just like that. And here we have the Queen of Coins in reverse that I think reinforces that for us. So the Queen of Coins in reverse is about self-worth. And in your case, you've done a lot of building up your self-worth, building up your self-trust. We saw that a ton. About a month ago, we saw like the Seven of Swords coming out in reverse just constantly. And it was for you, it was for your person, it was primarily coming out for you in a lot of cases. But it was about self-trust and self-worth that you were recognizing. And here there is, and this is more on your person's side, but it's shared energy. There's this feeling of coming out of pain during the month of February. There's this feeling of not being sure who all just saw that, as far as how much the love showed, how much the emotion really. Any emotion doesn't just have to be love. They don't want to show off emotion too much. This is somebody who's feeling pretty guarded, and there's a low level of self-worth that needs to be addressed as well. So those are some things that are going to be playing out across the course of the month. Those energies just sort of bouncing off of this Three of Swords energy, which is where the pain is falling away. Let's take a look here at this Page of Wands, because remember, this was the energy that is kind of, it's what you're moving towards. So you guys have free will. You have the option to not move toward this energy. But in many ways, your person is already in it. So this is that energy of kind of laying low, low profile, not wanting to attract a bunch of attention or do a lot of things. And it's not a high engagement sort of energy. I've dropped a bunch of cards there. Sometimes it seems like I dropped a lot more than it seems like when I go to pick them up. Okay, we've got one that turned over, and this is the Wheel. This one's all about change, but it's about change not happening. Oh, this one wants to go too. And we have the Sun. There's one we haven't seen a ton of in a while. Okay, so this is the energy that's coming for your direction, is a laying low, not wanting to engage, almost introverted sort of energy, but it is a hanging there sort of energy. So if you are a person who meditates, it reminds me of that feeling that you get into when you are legitimately just floating there in meditation. You have found your groove, and you're just kind of you're into it. You're really into it. There is also an element of happiness that wants to come out here, and it's a very strong element of happiness that wants to come out here. I find that almost just bright, like shining out of there. That behind this moment, it's not just a moment, like it takes a little bit of time to move through, but beyond this period of time where you're you're floating in almost that meditative state, there is a deep happiness in there, and so it kind of starts to bloom from behind it. That's the energy that you're coming to, but you're going there from a very calm, laid back sort of energy, one that doesn't have you engaging your surroundings and things an awful lot. So that's something to keep in mind. It's a little bit different from some of the energies that we've seen in the past as far as what you're moving into, but it's kind of what, it's a tougher one to describe for me, but it's what we've seen in the last couple of readings as far as the energy where you're headed is little bit more problem solving, a little bit more, I'm getting back on my feet again. There's that, but it's not necessarily I'm going out and partying and having an amazing time. It's more, this one's more laid back, but it still leads to that feeling of just sort of hanging there, and very enjoyable. It's very enjoyable. This isn't like stagnation. Let's take a look at this Queen of Swords in reverse. So, the Queen of Swords in reverse was that critical energy that's impacting you this month. And it was, instead of just cutting things out and, without thinking about it or without looking at it, it's having that sense of discernment. Goes nicely here with this 10 of Cups. But let's see what wants to come out to clarify this little Queen of Swords. This energy is very, it's very understanding. It's very understanding, I would say. Okay, and so there's still a lot of pain that's involved here, but it's a matter of recognizing what that pain is and understanding that you're moving in a direction to solve it. It's just going to be it's a slow, deliberate process because you aren't skipping things. And because of that, you end up with this feeling of things kind of, again, hanging there, but it ends up being very positive, very enjoyable, and it blooms into a very happy experience. In fact, the happiest card in the deck. And I'm inclined to say that this is independent of your person. So both of you are moving into this kind of energy. That's what you're heading into. However, how you interpret it and how you feel it may look very different. So both of you are heading into this, but your potential for experiencing it in a truly peaceful way are maybe a little bit different right now because of what's going on in your respective lives. There is still a lot to work through. I can feel some abandonment issue or injury there, some betrayal concerns, but also that sense of I know I'm moving in the right direction, and I'm just putting one step in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. Um, but I think maybe this is something where we want to look a little bit more deeply into it when we get into the extended. I want to understand a little bit more about how your person is feeling about the situation and feeling about you. So this is beautiful energy, but we're going to dig in a little bit deeper. We're also going to dig in a little bit deeper, I think, on this energy of what is coming for you and how best you're going to handle, or what you would be best served by doing, which we're also going to talk about here. And that's about believing in yourself and just going ahead and moving forward. But first, let's clarify this 10 of Cups. So, this is that 10 of Cups in the reverse that is in your hidden energy. And this one speaks of discernment. It works nicely with the Queen of Swords that came out in that the energy that's impacting you. And really, this one is about understanding what it's like I said, it's a light it's too bright for you. And when you get in there and you kind of have to let your eyes adjust so that you can get a better feel for what it is that you're looking at. And that helps you to understand how you want to approach it, how you want to handle your interaction with it. So we've got the Knight of Cups that has come out here. So that is it is a card of action, and it is a card of emotional action, but it's like being able to say what needs to be said, whether it's an apology or just kind of getting in there and being a little bit more honest. So I told you that this didn't have quite the vulnerability vibe to it, but it has a little bit of it, and it comes out especially as it relates to like the overlap of the energy between this card and the 10 of Cups. So the Knight of Cups is that ability to say, not just to feel vulnerable, but to show it and to say, to give an apology, to get a little bit more descriptive in what has been maybe going on. Then we've got the King of Wands that comes out in the reverse here. King of Wands in the reverse is a card of wanting to control. It's almost applying one's arrogance to the situation, that it almost has that feel to it. So that I'm not convinced that's you, but be aware that you just want to make sure, even if you think you know how something's going to turn out, make sure that you're looking into it and truly waiting for your eyes to adjust before you decide how you want to address something and whether it is truly too good to be true or not. Now let's take a look at this Seven of Wands. So the Seven of Wands is in that it was in the position of how can you best prepare for what's coming for you? And it's about maintaining, look, you are protected. Okay. It is very clear to me that you are well protected. This collective feels well protected. I can practically see it. But then, and the fact that you guys come together almost offers you additional protection. But that having that confidence, here it is again, Seven of Wands with the Seven of Wands to talk about you are on top of things, you are prepared for this, you can fight for whatever you want, you are ready to do that. Let the confidence come out, let it flow. Let yourself flow. That's what wants to come out there. You have a new perspective coming your way. That's another thing that wants to come out here with this Hanged One card. So if you look at this, the Hanged One card is about it's about finding a new perspective, but it's also about how you're going to navigate once you have that, because finding a new perspective in many ways opens your eyes to the fact that there are going to be additional new perspectives out there. And that's why the more you learn, the less you realize you truly know of the overall body of knowledge, right? And so this new perspective does just that for you. It helps to open things up and to allow you to navigate a little more freely, navigate a little more differently. And that feels very connected with yesterday's reading. So, yesterday's reading being the general reading for the month of February. So, absolutely, if you haven't had a chance to go back and check that out, there are a lot of connections through this reading. But we're going to move on over to the extended here. In the extended, we're going to look a little bit more deeply for you into how your person is feeling. It's evident that there's a lot of love. You have brought them through a very dark time, but they're laying low, and so there's more to be had here as far as the messages. Let's also understand what you need to know about the place that you're going. So you're heading to a place during the month of February of having some better having some bad feelings fall away, but there's still that sense of imposter syndrome and not quite being able to overcome that, and also this sense of not quite being able to get past on your, and this feels like your person, not being able to get past that I just showed emotion and I really didn't want to sort of feeling. So we'll look into that and a couple of other things as we go into the extended reading. For now, I would just say thanks so much for being with me for the first pile. If this resonated, please like and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you in the extended. And otherwise, I'll just see you in another reading. And so here we go with pile two. We're going to start out. This is the pile with the red agate, and it's one of my favorites. This one just never stops being interesting. I'm going to read for you with the Avatar The Last Airbender Tarot, and then I'm going to clarify with the Darkwood Tarot. Those two work well together. And so we're going to jump in asking how your person is feeling about things as we head into the month of February. So, how they're feeling about you, how they're feeling about the relationship, just kind of feelings that they are having as it relates to this relationship. Oh, let's see. We've got the Eight of Wands, but it's in reverse. So this is, we'll have to see if this is like a sense of stagnation that surrounds them or if it's them putting on the brakes. But there is some energy that is not being allowed to move forward. So, the Eight of Wands in the upright is often really, well, it's fast moving energy. It's fast moving energy and things really starting to get going, and this way it feels like it's being stifled. But my question is it being stifled by someone for your person, or is your person the one who is currently putting on the brakes? So we'll look a little bit more into that when we go to clarify. But first, let's take a look at that energy that you guys are moving around in. So this is going to be that energy most prevalent as you go across the month. It's like the energetic backdrop that I sometimes ask for. The energy that is happening around you, the two of you, as you're moving through this month. And you've got the Page of Swords. So there's a little bit of fear. This is that skittish sort of fear. It's feeling like, so the Page of Swords in the upright, it's like the opposite of what I sometimes feel for the Page of Swords in the upright. So in the upright, this one can mean that it is It's very excited, ready to move forward and do new things, ready to jump in and try something new. And actually, what we're seeing here in the reverse is kind of an unwillingness to do those things. There's a feeling that we have someone is digging in their heels or otherwise causing things to not move forward, and that's impacting your person's emotion. But we also have the energy between the two of you being almost a little bit suspicious and definitely has that skittish sense. We've been seeing this one come out a little bit here. So let's see what's coming for you in that energy across the month. Ooh, all right. Let's see. We've got the Eight of Coins. Well, that's emotional self mastery. That's a good thing. Having this come your direction, it's often pretty hard won, but it's also very much worth what you do to accomplish it. So, the Eight of Coins, I'm happy to see this here. I'm curious to see how that's going to play out, though. So this is the energy that you're moving toward as you move across the month, unless you don't like it, in which case you have the option to employ your free will to put yourself in a different direction. But I don't know that I would do that here. This is moving toward that emotional self mastery, which this feels a little bit less like emotional self mastery, and so does this energy that's going to be kind of surrounding you and setting you, I guess, making you feel a little off kilter is what it feels like to me. So you're moving toward an energy that is a little more stable, at least from an emotional standpoint. Let's see, maybe let's get another critical energy that's impacting you at this time. So this could be anything, could be something great, could be something very challenging, but it's going to be something that is impacting you at this time. Ooh, we've got the Empress. So that is really good news. You want the Empress to be the energy that is impacting you at this time, especially when it comes out feeling like this is the energy of the learning that you've done so far that's already kind of culminating and helping you to move forward and determine how you're going to move forward. And so that Empress energy feels a little more confident. Even though, it's not as if it's confident because you already have all of the answers that you seek in every situation. It's more just that you're confident you're going to get it. So there's a really good and positive sort of comfortable feeling, comfortable even more than confident. Like I feel like I've got this, but not in a it's not cocky. There's nothing cocky about it. It's more just understanding here it comes and I'm going to be able to handle this as well. So um that is a wonderful energy to be underlying things, especially when you're heading toward an energy that is more in the area of it feels positive. I mean, I know that it's basically neutral and we get to assign our own version of positive or negative, and it's kind of the filters that we put on the situation, but generally speaking, we like to think of um emotional stability, emotional self mastery as being fairly positive, and that's the direction you're heading. It's very much fueled by this Empress energy, but it is at odds with the Page of Swords, skittish sort of energy, and the digging in of the heels of the Eight of Wands energy. And so this is your person's energy that's it's something that is either stopping them or causing them to want to stop. So again, we'll look at that here in a little bit. We're going to look first at this hidden energy. So let's see what's in there for the hidden energy for you. And remember, this is not necessarily energy that is hard to get at, so much as it is just not visible from where you're standing. So, hidden energy can just be around the corner. It can be something that as you continue, and we're all going at different speeds, all at different points on the timeline. Um, different things come into view. So we have the Fool card that is showing up in reverse. So this is a matter of it's almost feeling like a fool, and I feel like this one is maybe it's a shared energy, but it feels like it's a little bit stronger on your person's side. There's this feeling of thinking they've done something wrong, or thinking irreparable, the feeling like they've done something irreparable that they don't have a solution to, and on your side feeling like maybe yes, they've done something that there's not a simple solution to. There's kind of that feeling to it. I'm looking forward to clarifying and getting a little bit deeper on these, but first let's go ahead and see what you can be doing now. And this is what you can be doing now that will help to prepare you for this energy of the Eight of Coins that's coming. Let's see. So we have the Nine of Cups and the Ten of Cups. Ooh, these are some messages that have been coming through for some time. So I'm just going to say this. If you guys have been watching this channel, you already know this, but these readings are very much connected. And so if you watch for a while, you will notice that there are some trends across this collective, trends across the cards that come out over certain periods of time. So, for example, at the beginning of this year, every single reading, the Ace of Swords was coming out talking about this new truth that your person was being presented with. One of the other things that has been coming out here for a little while is the Nine of Cups and the Ten of Cups. And both of them have been talking about finding that wish fulfillment, understanding when something is too good to be true, becoming a little bit more discerning, and just understanding what it is that you want from life. And that is so much what this message is. It's those two messages put together, but it's really about make sure that you understand what it is that you want, because that is something that you may find is changing. You may find that it's changing what constitutes your wish fulfillment, and you may also find out that how you handle things is a little different. So we've talked about with the Ten of Cups, um, when you run into something that you're not sure if it's too good to be true, you go in and you get a closer look to determine what is it that I'm actually dealing with. And if you determine it's not so great, it's not exactly what I thought it was going to be, it's not too good to be true, it's not so much that you necessarily just drop it by the wayside. It's more that you say, I will now deal with this in a slightly different way. And so finding out the answer to that question is one way or the other doesn't necessarily, it helps to inform how you handle it. When you combine that with knowing what it is that you want, that helps you to determine that path and to figure out, what you need to do moving forward. And that's the message that you're getting here. What you can be doing now to prepare yourself for this is to be very cognizant of when when you've been put in a position to figure out the real nature of something, and how you really want for things to turn out, what you really are wishing for in your own wish fulfillment. I guess that's, make sure you know what you want, and make sure you're doing the things that you want to for the reasons, for the right reasons. I guess that's part of this as well. Let's see a little bit more to clarify. There's a lot in here that I think we might have to take into the extended, and I go in and I start thinking about what are those potential extended questions going to be, and I tend to go in certain directions, and then I kind of dovetail all the rest of the messages in there. um, this one is just full of questions that I want to ask. And this is the first one. Let's get a little bit deeper on how your person is feeling as we head into the month. So we know that something is in the way for them. So whether it is um, their own stopping, something within them that is stopping them, or okay, there's it's a combination of things. So it's not just, there is something within them that is saying, okay, everything's moving too fast, stuff has to slow down, I'm not okay with the way things are working out right now. But there is an emotional triggering within all of this that may not be coming from you. I also get the sense that there is something that is happening outside of the two of you, that is causing a little bit of this slowdown here. So this is influencing the speed with which the two of you would ordinarily be coming closer together, which with which you would be um, coming into union. However, there's something that has to be resolved. So this something is not passing judgment. And so in order to get through the overall process of the tarot, one of the things that you do is you pass judgment, then you go to the world. That's like the happy ending. It all starts out with this fool's journey, but unfortunately, It's not passing judgment, so something has to be redone or rethought. That's part of um, why you have putting on the brakes here. It also, we see that there is the Queen of Cups, which is talking about that emotional triggering that we saw a moment ago. Um, that emotional triggering is something that's coming from without, but it's creating a sense within for them to want to slow down and not necessarily move forward as quickly. So let's take a look at this skittishness. And remember, this is that energy that is most prevalent as you're going across the month. So it's a sense of being skittish, it's a sense of not feeling confident about jumping out and doing new things, which matches with this Fool energy down here. There's a defensiveness with the Nine of Wands, a wall that is being guarded that no longer needs to be guarded, and fears winning out over strengths. So that's really the gist of how things feel across the course of this month. It feels scary, feels like something that you have to constantly be watching over your shoulder. Be watching for this in yourself too, because this is a shared energy. And even if this is not really how you're feeling right now, just observe the self talk, observe the situations and the way things pop into your mind, and be watching for places where the fear is winning out over the strength, or you're feeling skittish about a situation and you're not sure why. When you see that, look for the thing that you're guarding that you don't necessarily need to be guarding. So that's going to be a defense mechanism that you're employing, or some sort of trait. It might be it's something that shows that you're not comfortable, and you'll know it when you feel it. But that's going to be in the energy for you as you're moving toward this Eight of Coins energy. So that energy of the Eight of Coins is emotional, it's emotional self-mastery, but it's not just that. It's like you've been working hard, you've both been working hard just in general, and these lessons that you guys have started to master and to learn, these really matter. And this is over here in this other energy that impacts you strongly, is where they're starting to play out. So with this Eight of Coins and this energy that you're moving toward, and this is something I think we might want to look more deeply into, there's a resistance into going this direction. So there's a resistance around moving into a place of that greater self mastery. And it feels like it's not just fear, but it's pain. It's something that's hard to think about. So we've got the Three of Cups. I dropped one on the floor, but we don't want that one. We've got the Three of Cups that has come out here. And the Three of Cups is about the flow of emotion, but it's also about having an extra energy in the mix. So, not necessarily that of a third party in a romantic sense, although it could absolutely be a third party in a romantic sense. There is something that's happening to influence your person and influence this mix and cause them to be a little bit resistant to this overall movement in the direction of self mastery. But it feels painful. Like the main reason they wouldn't want to move that direction is because of existential pain and misery, not because of this additional source of energy, although this is playing into it as well. This could be their job, this could be their spouse, long term relationship, it could be somebody in their family, but it's somebody that causes them to kind of want to shy away from the things are that what makes up the overall feeling of that emotional self-mastery. There's something that's keeping them from it. We have to look more deeply into this, just like we have to look more deeply into this too, about how they're feeling, because something isn't passing judgment, and so they've got their heels dug in about moving forward emotionally with you, not just in a physical world sense where they would communicate better, or they would communicate at all in the case where you're in separation. And so many of you are in separation. This is more than that, though. This is them locking up, but because of that triggering that's happening to them. So let's take a closer look at this Empress. See what's happening there. So we've got the World card in reverse. This is kind of, I get the sense of keeping something steady, keeping something in the air. There is So this Empress card talks about, you remember, it's you've already gone through so many of these lessons that you're in the lesson, you're in the midst of learning a whole bunch of lessons. You're on the road, though you're not at the beginning of the road, so you're able to utilize some of what you've learned to be able to do things like look for the skittishness and look for the self thinking or the self-talk that's gonna expose places where the weakness is winning out over the strength, and allow you to ask the right questions of yourself to figure out what walls it is, that you're defending that maybe you don't need to be. That's going to lead to answers around this Eight of Coins, but I really feel like that's more questions that your person needs to be asking. Still, though, it's this that's going to help bear you through the overall process, which we can see isn't passing judgment, and isn't yet over. So there's the World card that has come out in the reverse. Um, and one flip over here, the Queen of Wands, right as I was dropping some that went face down. So we're not going to take those. But this Queen of Wands is all about power, attraction, passion, a willingness to move forward. And yet there's this underlying control, not like a holding on to something and that sort of grasping at control. It's more of the kind of control that you already possess, and it's a matter of just sort of directing it. Make sure you're directing it the right way, which I'm immediately getting an echo of make sure that whatever you're doing, you know why you're doing it, and it's for reasons that you can stand behind. Not necessarily that you need to judge what those things are that you want, just that you are doing what you're doing for good reasons. So let's take a look here at this Fool card. This is feeling foolish. Feels like it's more in your person's energy, like I was saying. But this is hidden energy. So they feel silly about something that maybe you don't even realize, or they feel sillier than you realize that they do. There's something about that. It's more of, it's a higher level of magnitude for them. And here, yeah, we see that Eight of Wands again. That's just kind of backing up what we see up here. That's part of what's holding them back and making them less communicative or completely uncommunicative. A lot of your folks have completely disappeared off into the ethers, or wherever it is that they run off to, and they're kind of observing from way off there, but they're not willing to move forward or let energy move forward. They are, though, getting to a place, and here's something that may be hidden to both of you, but they are getting to a place where there's a little bit more learning that's possible. They're a little bit more open to it. You may also be experiencing some of this and feeling like, maybe you've made a mistake, or there's been too much of a mistake. Things aren't moving, and maybe that's the way that things need to be for a bit, but you guys are both maybe opening up to the concept of new lessons and how you're going to work through those. So it's something that's happening in the background. I do get the sense it's not really a conscious every day, here's how I'm going to work through it sort of thing. And maybe for you it is, but I get definitely the sense for your person that it's not that way. So again, looking at how we could best prepare for it, it was a matter of knowing what you want, knowing how to evaluate it, so that you know how to move forward when you encounter something that may or may not be what it is that you really want. So let's see, I think we just had one little pile turn over. We've got the Nine of Swords. There is some anxiety that comes up when you start really examining what you want. And it feels tied in with this up here, with that fear of moving forward to self-mastery. Sometimes you want something that makes a lot of sense, but it's still really scary to approach it for some reason. Or it's a problem that you want to solve in yourself, but it creates issues when you start to think it through. I think we're going to look at this in the extended too, because part of what we want to look at in this question is really what can you be doing right now, but it's what you can be doing right now to help move you in a direction that's going to be supportive for where you're already kind of headed, and so you're headed in a direction that's very positive, and this Nine of Pentacles, that's great energy to go along with it. You're headed in really positive direction, but there is still that resistance, and I feel like that may again be stronger on your person's side, but not necessarily exclusively on your person's side. So look for both of you to have at least one other energy that is sapping away from your ability to move into a state of emotional self mastery. Look for something that's causing you to want to resist that and causing you to have a little bit of anxiety there. Sorry about the dog barking. We have some, I guess, emergency vehicles, and he feels left out whenever there are emergency vehicles. And sometimes he will actually begin to howl. So we did not get that this time around. Anyway, we're going to go ahead and go into the extended now. I think we're going to look at three categories, and there are three categories that I popularly like to look into, but it's going to be a deeper dive on how your person is feeling about you right now. We're getting a sense about it right here, but it's not maybe, I think that we could learn more. We know that they're being triggered. We know that something is not passing judgment. They're digging in their heels, but there is something making them want to dig in their heels. There's also some resistance to this place where you're going, this place of greater emotional self mastery. And some of that resistance is coming from within, feels like it's kind of connected to this, or maybe even the skittishness energy. But there's also something coming from outside your person that is creating, and maybe even outside you. This, I feel this for you to a much lesser extent, but still something to be considered. Look for something that might be dulling that edge and making it a little tougher for you to move toward what's coming. But we're going to look a little bit more deeply at what's coming, because when I look at the responses that you guys are having to it, I see that there's a lot of potential, but I also see that resistance. Let's dig into that a little and then see what it is that's going to help you be able to move forward. So this is really great advice here. It's advice that we keep hearing. This Nine of Pentacles energy, like I said, is really positive. That's the energy of, emotional independence as you're moving into this. And it's something that you've been cultivating. Both of you have been cultivating, and maybe even had cultivated for some time before coming into contact with one another and then kind of getting thrown off balance. So you're finding it again. And that's part of how you're going to be able to navigate forward well. But you notice there are also, just a lot of nines, a lot of things that are coming toward the end. But yet we have the world here in reverse. The overall cycle is not quite over. There's more to be done here. So if this one resonated for you, please hit subscribe so we can stick together and we can stay in this sort of pattern of readings. There's definitely been a bit of a flow of these, and these readings have been fairly connected. So looking forward to seeing you in the extended. The link is down below, or I'll see you again in future readings. All right, so here we are getting going with pile 3, and that's the one with the Labradorite. Let's see if I can hold this for you at the right angle. You'll see why it is absolutely one of my favorites. So I'm going to be reading for you with the Mythic Tarot, and then I will clarify with the Light Seers. We're going to jump right in here to see how your person is feeling about you and just feeling about things associated with your relationship in general as we're heading into the month of February. So how your person is feeling about you, how your person is feeling about things as we head into the month of February. Okay, I think that's a single card. Yeah, so we have the Seven of Pentacles. Okay, so this is a card of, it's a card of investment. It's a card of putting in so that you're able to get out, but it's also a card of things not always working the way that you necessarily had planned to. So this is a special Seven of Pentacles because it really gives off that feeling of things not necessarily working out. In fact, this one says gremlins in the bottom, and you're able to see that in the machine here. Within some of these cogs, there are these little things, these little people that are getting in there and maybe causing some havoc. With a title like Gremlin, that seems pretty likely. So that is how they're feeling as they head into the month. So what I'm getting from this, though, is that they are trying to get on with their life in the most productive way. They're trying to invest in the proper directions and do the right things, but they can't really think straight. So there's this sense of not being able to get you out of their mind. not being able to focus in the ways that they want to. We'll look a little bit more into that when we go to clarify. Let's see first, what is the energy that's going to be most prevalent as you move throughout this month? So, this is kind of that energetic backdrop. But it's that energy that's going to be most prevalent. So it's not necessarily here's everything that's happening. It's just kind of one piece of it that really sticks out and is going to impact you. That is not a single card, but we do want this one. So the Four of Swords. This one is about healing. Four of Swords is about healing, but it is also about how the when you do something, the energy has to come from somewhere. Okay. And so keep that in mind. You can't do unlimited amounts of things on energy that comes from a limited source. And so that's something to think about. So as you're gaining your rest, your rejuvenation, just keep in mind that the flow of your energy is important and needs to be protected. So let's see what's coming for you, or what's the energy of what you're moving toward. So this is one of those situations where if you don't like the answer to this question, you are always welcome to use your free will to change it. So we've got the Nine of Swords, and what it's telling us is that there's a fair amount of anxiety that's coming to this picture, but it's a certain kind of anxiety where somebody feels bad about something and is kind of rerunning a specific day or a specific moment in their mind. Like something keeps going over and over, and it's making them very concerned, making them kind of crazy. It's where some of their energy is going. So this Four of Swords was energy for you guys as what's prevalent as you go across the month. The healing is the order of the day, but by the same token, this is something that you have to be able to facilitate because, again, the energy has to come from someplace. Your person is constantly losing energy to the way that they're feeling about you because they are unable to focus. And then there's also this sense of agitation, of anxiety. And this is the place that you guys are kind of headed if you're not careful. So we'll have to figure out, maybe that's what one of the things that we'll look at in the extended is how best to address this energy that you're moving into. It's not necessarily something to be avoided. Maybe it's something to be managed. So we'll see what happens there. Um, so first, let's look at what is a critical energy that is impacting you across the course of February. A critical energy that is impacting you across the course of February. And this could be from anywhere. It could be from within one of you. Oh, we have something that wants to be used. All right, so this is the Devil card, and this is kind of the way it fell on the table, and then it fell exactly the same way on the floor. So it's the Devil card, it's in reverse, and this is about coming out from under the control of something. So there's growth that's happening here. This is really uncomfortable growth in the case of your person because they keep having their attention turned back to you and the lessons that you represent. And those two things are, as we saw in previous readings, almost indistinguishable in your person's mind in some cases. However, this is part of what their process looks like as they work through it. It's working. They are getting to a place where they are being able to surmount some of these areas of their life that have been controlling them. And sometimes it's not one thing. Sometimes it's more than one thing. And you're looking at, here's a situation where there's a person that is providing some of that control. Maybe there's also a substance. Maybe there's also some overthinking and some obsessive thinking. I mean, it can be a combination of things, and there's no judgment going out to someone who's under that many different thumbs of control, but I feel like this is happening for both of you. It's strong within your person that they're coming out of this. I feel like you've done some of this as well, but they're in a different place in healing from where you are. And so I feel like maybe you had some of these epiphanies and moved out from beyond some of that control that's already happened for some of you. For some of you, it is kind of happening in the now. And for many of you, it is your person that is also experiencing this. So let's take a look here at those hidden energies. And this is, what you can't see from where you're currently standing. So the hidden energies of your situation, something that you need to know, something that's impacting you that you need to know, but it's not visible from where you're standing. Like I was saying, I think maybe it was in pile one. It could be something that's right around the corner. It doesn't have to be hiding at all. It's just something that you're not able to see from your current perspective. And we've got the Queen of Swords in reverse. So we have talked a little bit about how discernment is the order of the day. There's been a lot of Ten of Cups in reverse that's come out. Even the Ten of Cups in the upright is going to be relevant to this sometimes. Queen of Swords is another one that speaks of discernment. And here, it's because the Queen of Swords is very decisive and quickly makes decisions, cuts things out, quickly makes decisions and executes, cutting things out. And so, whereas that's not necessarily a bad thing, it's a great quality and trait to be able to have. She's incredibly logical. She's incredibly if then. Sometimes sometimes you need to wait a moment before you make the decision to cut something out. And that is what I see happening here. So, could be happening in conjunction with some of this control being lifted, but there's definitely this sense here that we want to watch of some control being lifted and people feeling better about discernment and not feeling like you have to make a snap decision and cut something out quickly. It's not as much of a protection thing. I'm also getting that. So let's see what you can be doing now to best prepare for this energy that you're headed toward. And this is a great question to ask. It's part of what I was saying we would probably want to touch on when we get to the extended, because we see that this energy that you're headed toward is going to make you think a lot and it might make you fixate. So what is it that you need to be doing to prepare for this energy that you're headed for? Maybe it's preparing for it in as much as you decide to veer off and go in a different direction. Or maybe it's, I'm going to confront this head on. And I definitely got the sense that, at least for a lot of you, confrontation is the right way to go. So we've got the Ten of Pentacles. Okay, so there's going to be a harsh reality that you are being asked to sort of look at, understand, and incorporate into your way of thinking and into your way of seeing things. It is, you are encouraged to lean into this. This is going to be about a different perspective. It's not actually that you are losing anything, it's that you are taking a different view of something that already exists or that already is the way that it is. You're going to see it and you're going to feel kind of not necessarily great about the way that you have to think about it. But as you're thinking about it, you're going to get to a place where you have a different perspective and it starts to resolve some of the things that are keeping you down, some of the things that are creating anxiety, thereby further releasing you from some of these things that are trying to control you, trying to take control, taking away some of your energy. In your person's case, it's kind of creating this lack of focus. This is powerful, where you guys are in complete control of how, and not like too much pressure on you or anything, but you have so much of an ability to impact how this plays out. This is fabulous. It's going to look a little different for everybody, but this is all about you and how you interpret and how you choose to reframe, in some cases, what's going on in your lives. So we're going to start here with the Seven of Pentacles and start to clarify. And this was how they were feeling. So the Seven of Pentacles was like, and this is how they're feeling about you and about this situation that you shared, this relationship that you shared. They're feeling like it's creating an inability for them to focus. They're having kind of a hard time keeping their thoughts together. So I see what I think is the Six of Swords. All right, so this is a difficult spot, but it's coming to an end. They're coming to a calmer place. I was like, I feel like things are more positive than this Seven of Pentacles. Maybe they're just having an extra tough time with it, but it's not that. It's more that they've been in this place. They've been in this place for however long things have been quote unquote wrong between you, whether your person has left, has disappeared, has ghosted, has stopped communicating. Ever since then, they've been thinking about it. They've been having this hard time focusing and really getting right with things. But they're moving into a place of less of an see if I can say this, tumultuous emotions, fewer tumultuous emotions. So they're going from a place of choppy waters emotionally to a place of clearer, more calm and placid waters. That's going to allow for them to be able to do a little bit more of this healing. Because what we see here is exactly the same thing that we're being warned about here. Your person is they're having some of their energy sapped away by the gremlins, by the things that are causing them to not be able to focus. And so moving into this calmer water, they'll be able to begin to find the time and the ability to reflect. It's like we've talked about in the past. When you get to the calmer water, you have the ability to see your reflection over the side of that boat. So it gives you an opportunity to reflect, maybe even an opportunity to heal. Okay, so we also have the Ace of Wands that has come out here. And so the Ace of Wands is kind of one of my favorite cards, especially when it comes in the upright. So this is a very passionate new beginning. That's what this is. That's your person's energy. So it's like the order that the cards have come out. They've been in this place where it's been very difficult for them to focus. They're coming to a calmer place and they're feeling the energy of a passionate new beginning. So they're kind of getting back on their feet again. We want to make sure that there's enough time in there for really the healing to take place, but you're not in control of that. What we can see here is that there is a need for additional healing. And that's true of both of you. There's a need for additional healing, but you are in a place where you are doing that healing, considering that healing, probably thinking a little more consciously about that healing as well. And so, this energy of healing as you go throughout this month is going to be really beneficial for you. It's going to be really beneficial for both of you if you're both willing to do it. So, your person may want to take some of this energy and redirect it toward healing and that sort of that direction rather than allowing their energy to be seeped away into something that causes them again to not necessarily want to focus in a place of healing. So where they're at. I think we're probably going to have to look a little bit more deeply into this, although for the most wonderful reasons. It seems like they're coming from a tough place. They're coming into a calmer place, and then they're moving into let's try this again. Let's rethink this. Not necessarily reunion, because I know in some of your cases you don't want reunion, but it's still them bouncing back. You do, on some level, want them to bounce back because, of course, if they bounce back, it bodes well for you and your energy as well. So let's take a look at this Four of Swords. And this is that energy that is across the month for both of you, but it has that kind of corollary message to it that says, ooh, that says you want to make sure that your energy isn't kind of getting leached out somewhere. I don't know if you can see this, but it actually says vampire on the cards underneath the Four of Swords. And so it is still a card of healing, but that's why I keep, that's what makes me keep focusing on you've got to allow that energy for your healing and not allow it to be siphoned off into something else. So we've also got the Three of Pentacles here in reverse. And that is a feeling of things not always going your way. So things might not go your way, and that is especially going to be true if you're not able to truly confront the things that require your healing. So there are going to be some things for both of you that are tough for you to get at as far as this healing is concerned. And we already see that it's bringing you to a place where you're feeling anxious, you have some concerns, you're being brought face to face with some things that make you feel kind of uncomfortable, and in some cases maybe very uncomfortable, and there's not going to be anything helping to support you running away from this. It's going to feel like, as you make your attempt to possibly, escape from having to deal with some of this, those escape routes will seem to close down, much like the maze that this guy is standing here, the Minotaur is standing here in front of, or yeah, in front of a maze. And that maze stands out to me for a couple of reasons. One of them is really because of the walls that you'll run into when you're trying to avoid healing, and this is both of you. But the other piece is that as you get closer to the center of that maze, or the I, I have this visual, even though this maze looks like this, I have this visual of a maze that is essentially a spiral that goes inward, and when it gets to the center, there's no place else for it to go. And so there's this feeling of maybe trying to avoid that healing. You're going to have to face that. You're going to be getting toward the end of that spiral to where you're going to have to turn around. There's not going to be any more direction for you to go. No more kicking the can down the road. It's running out of road. And so this is about finding some time this month to try and identify what those things are that maybe you haven't had the opportunity to heal, or that are still kind of hiding in there for you, and going toward those. But look for things to not support you running away from that. So let's take another look here at this Nine of Swords, because I feel like it keeps getting pulled in as we look at this. This situation is starting to kind of really show itself here. So we've got the Nine of Swords, and that's the energy that you are moving into. It's an energy of anxiety and unrest. But you're also getting the message along with this that you're probably going to want to go ahead and move into this place that creates some anxiety and unrest. Um, when you get to the end of this maze and you don't have additional opportunities, you have to face what's there. It may cause a little bit of trouble, a little bit of anxiety for you. But this Judgment card tells me that you are going to be able to get things aligned. This is why you want to be able to confront this, because it is going to do you a lot of good. It's going to do you way more good than you might expect, and it's not going to be as bad as you might expect. So yes, it could create some anxiety for you, but your advice here is to just kind of be aware it might not be so bad. You are going to come out of this with an ability to have a little bit more balanced of a situation, to be able to have that equal give and take, because that's not necessarily something that you have always enjoyed in the past. And so this is going to be that opportunity to get a little stronger within yourself. And you will kind of, it feels like, be forced into this. This is both of you to a certain extent, but you're approaching it from such different directions that it's going to feel and look pretty different. For both of you, though, this is a month of great healing. It's uncomfortable healing. It's things that you have known are there but haven't really wanted to deal with. You'll be redirected to deal with them, but it's going to be okay, even though it does cause, like we saw, some of that anxiety. It ends up with you being in a much better place. So we know that in order to prepare for this, there's a sense of having to come to terms with something that's very difficult, but you do. You come to terms with it, and you're able to assimilate it into your worldview and then make something very positive of it. And it turns out that's what it's there for. It just looks different as you're approaching it. You aren't sure how to use this to your best advantage, or how to plug it into your worldview, but it will become evident. And this is good because you've got this additional energy that's impacting you, that is the energy of the devil in reverse. This is things that were controlling both of you letting go, and particularly strongly on your person's part, but I do feel like it's pretty mutual. We know it has been happening for you. You've been rising above. You've been making some realizations that are, remember when it was all about self-worth? And we were seeing cards come out that were constantly saying, this is about your self-worth increasing. This is about your self-trust increasing. If you go back and you watch these videos, you're going to basically see the beginning of this. Um, well, maybe not the beginning, but as far back to September of 2022, you would see kind of this path that you guys have been on. And everyone is in a different place on the path, but it has some remarkably striking similarities. And this piece where there's some moving away from that it's like moving away from emotional danger, because it's moving away from that which controls you, but it's also being put in a position where even if you run across them again, it isn't going to control you again. However, you're in the midst of this. So we've got the Eight of Swords in the upright and the Five of Swords in the reverse, and they are not opposites, but they almost feel like it in this sense, because right now what's really coming out for me is a lot of this anxiety. So the Eight of Swords is like this unknowing anxiety. It's not being able to see what's really creating the issue, but you're imagining it, and you're able to put yourself in kind of a mental prison that is honestly really difficult to escape, because you don't understand what you're even able to do in order to do something about it. But there's also this anguish, this feeling of, again, with the anxiety, but it is this internal dialogue, that's the piece that has started to fall away. And you've both been able to, and I feel like more on your person's side, been able to say, ooh, I see it now. Which, again, not always comfortable. Maybe it's something that hasn't quite been solved, but the path is now being laid for that, and everything's being cleared for that work to be done. So that's going to be really positive. What we don't see is that greater sense of discernment. This is some work that has already started, or some work that in some cases has already been done. You're already in a place where both of you are already in a place where you've learned to look a little bit more closely at something. And that has to do with not being as fearful about it. So the Strength card, as we've seen in the past, never happens in a vacuum. And there is definitely this sense of strength and being able to push past the fears that maybe feel like they're weighing you down. This is a challenging place to have a new discernment grow, because it's a place that has always been so much safer in the past. If you could just say, nope, I'm not going to do this, I'm just going to walk away. Instead, now you're saying, no, I'm going to take a look at it. I'm actually somebody who restores order to such things, because I'm going, and this is sort of futuristic energy, but you probably already feel it rising up because of some of the work that you guys have already done to get where you need to go in this healing journey, to the point where you're ready to confront this, because it feels like you're not ready to confront this, but you totally are. And we've been seeing this come up in some of the readings. So you may want to go get caught up on some of those, because there is a lot of material and lessons there. And we've looked at it from some different perspectives, which we'll continue to do. But it's all just really resonating back to those previous readings. I'm seeing some of the same images, and that's how it works for me. Sometimes it's very image oriented. Sometimes it's a phrase or something that'll jump into my mind. And in some cases here, it's some of those same phrases. But there's something about establishing order to the chaos. There's something about bringing things back to a state of balance that you are now more equipped to do because of this place that you find yourself. So as the control starts to melt away, so does this ability to handle these things that feel a little bit more anxious. And this is you handling it. So the question was, what can you best do to prepare for this energy that you're headed toward? And the answer was that, it was a reinforcement of, you do want to confront this anxiety energy, but it was also, you're going to have to deal with something that you don't feel confident about. So there's going to be, this almost feels like a regret, but it's like a place that you will not have invested that you wished you had. Something that, as you gain a new perspective, you start to feel like, you know what, I didn't do that. And maybe this is something that, if given the opportunity again, I would do. But maybe there's completely valid reasons why you didn't do it in the first place, too. So I wouldn't spend too much time on that one. I don't get the sense that you're going to. I think that you've got bigger fish to fry and you're going to move past it. But this is something for you to watch for, just something to be aware of. You may start to evaluate your past decisions and actions a little bit differently as you go through this process. That's natural. Imagine how you're going to judge your past relationships and your interactions with people, even as it gets into like your childhood and your family. When you get to a place where you're starting to, whew, you guys, it's the devil in reverse again. Keep going. So this is going to be a process, and we'll look into this as we go into the extended, which we're going to do here momentarily. But I just want to say this is like reinforcing this energy over here. That the question here was, what's that critical energy that's impacting you at this time? And it was really that you guys are stepping away from the things that have been controlling you, especially your person. They're coming away from that place of negative self talk, or not necessarily coming away from it, but learning to identify it and to see where they're at. So, this is part of why they're coming into that calmer emotional space. But it's going to mean greater passion. So they're going to come into it. And guys, springtime in the Northern Hemisphere is right around the corner. And in the Southern Hemisphere, the fall is right around the corner. It's times of change. And that's what I feel like is happening here. So we're going to look at this when we get into the extended. We're going to look into definitely how your person is feeling, get a little bit more deep with their emotions, but we're also going to take a look at this energy that you're going into and this ability that you're going to have to more effectively evaluate situations for whether they're balanced and to help establish that balance because you become very good at that. So that's something we want to look a little bit more deeply into. But there's such a happy ending there. So the Judgment card is actually before the World card, which would be that happy ending. But it's almost implied here. It passes judgment. It passes judgment. Good things happen, and it has to do so much with. Remember, this is your advice. Keep releasing those things that control you. Go in this direction. Do the healing. Don't let the energy be leached away from you. Go for the big thing. Go for the thing that you feel like you haven't been able to get at. And this says that you know what it is. So go into your meditations if you feel like you're not super clear on which big thing or exactly what that means. But we're also going to look for that in the extended. So I'm going to go off and do that now. If this one resonated, please do subscribe so we can stick together because this has been a whole series of these things. And you can see them, they're out in the Soulmate series. So check them out if you haven't already because there's a lot of, like I said, there's a lot of messages there. We're going to go off into the extended. The link is down below. I look forward to seeing you there or in another reading.